I'm the son of Margaret Gutman. You remember Margaret Gutman?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my mum. So just so you know who I am. Yeah. We're joined by Eddie Jaku, the happiest guy on the planet. I just wanted to start off with from your childhood in Leipzig, and so what struck me most about your book was on many occasions you talk about your close relationship with your German neighbours and your German acquaintances, German friends. So let's just talk about your childhood anyway, and how and your relationships with the Germans.
Yeah, we had very nice neighbors. We had a very nice relationship, and I come from a very large family. My mom was from 13 children, 7 girls and 6 boys. My father for 4 and 4, and I had many cousins and aunties and uncles and so forth. Beautiful family, religious people, and what happened to us? What happened to my neighbors? What happened to my friends? I have never been in a Jewish school. We had the Karlbach College because my rabbi was Ibrahim Karlbach, the man who was singing in Israel is his grandson, Ul Karlbach Schule, but I didn't go there. I went to a German school. And so I had a lot of friends, because this school, my grandfather from my mom's side went to the same school than me, primary and high school. In 1933, I was thrown out of school because I'm Jewish. We didn't hide it to be Jewish. We were assimilated completely. I lost 2 uncles and a grandfather fighting for Germany in 1914 to 1918. You see, my grandmother lived with us because her husband didn't come home. So my mom lived in a house, big house, and my grandmother brought us up because after the war, World War II, World War I, it was tourists in Germany. And but we had a very nice life, very nice. Hard because we didn't have much food. Germany had to pay more repairs than they could produce. So it was not easy. It was not easy for my parents. But we had a beautiful life, beautiful, high class, everything, operas, cinemas, theaters, poetry. You tell me.
Yes. So in your early years, you had a great relationship with your German neighbors.
Our festival table, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or mostly Pesach and Purim, we had lots of non-Jewish people. My father invited a lot of people, showed them how we lived, how we behave, how we cherish family life, how we interact with everyone. It's very disappointed how we have now all the gadgets and we go backwards. There's no communication. The children grow up without sitting on the table and eating properly. They take a pulke and a piece of challah, and they go to their room and look at the tablet. What's this? This is bringing up. This is not use. This is not how you're supposed to live.
I agree with you about that, yeah.
Families falling apart because they have lost communication with their offsprings, because they have different attitudes, different correspondence with people on the computer they have never seen, but they speak to them in a nice way. They give them everything what they like to hear. And so parents now don't control the youngsters like we used to be. I am one person where my parents supposed to know everything I'm doing, with whom I'm going out, whom I'm invited, where I'm going, everything. That might be that the people today don't like. That's not freedom. That is exaggerating freedom. Freedom is only when you know what you're doing is right, but you cannot have it right when you only correspond with people who are the same thinkers than you. So Instead of looking up to us, they look down to us.
But getting back to your childhood, I mean, like you say, you were an assimilated Jewish family, and you were very connected, and the Jewish people had been in Germany for hundreds of years and had a great relationship with the Germans. And suddenly Hitler comes to power in 1933, and everything changes overnight, basically. And so the people that were close to you, they turned on you.
Right. That's right. So you see, I am more disappointed about my country because I believe that country given me the best civilization could give to a young man. Even though I had it very hard, I lived under a false name for 5.5 years in an orphanage as Walter Schleif.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I couldn't have my upbringing, my high school, my university, and my profession. I'm a precision engineer. I make surgical instruments, very fine instruments, optical and mechanical. And I have learned this on a false name when you need your mom the most. This is from 13 and a half. 6 months after my bar mitzvah, I was thrown out of a school called Leibniz Gymnasium, a very big high school, 1,900 students, one Jew, me. And I was thrown out. And my father, a stubborn German, he got me real papers. That man I took the identity from existed, but must have left Germany illegal because his papers were there and he bought them for me. And I lived under this name for 5.5 years until the 9th of November when I went home because I wanted to surprise my parents on their 20th wedding anniversary.
So for people who don't know, who haven't read your book, you had to change your identity because Jews were not allowed to go to school, to high school, to university anymore. After the Nuremberg laws, things changed dramatically, and then Jews were basically slowly forced out to the margins of the society. So did you understand what was going on to yourself at between the age of 13 and say 18? Did you understand what was happening?
But I learned something. I can tell you all the good things of the German and the bad things because they didn't know who I was. So they didn't hide anything from me.
What did you hear from them? What did they say to you?
Yes. What I heard was not what I liked to hear it. German men are weak. German men are fanatics of discipline. There is ein Befehl ist ein Befehl, and they do it without questioning.
What does befehlen mean?
They say, if they say to you, shoot, they say zu Befehl, and they shoot. And this is not a man in my book. Man in French means homme.
Yeah.
And it means a man who doesn't know what's right and wrong, which a German don't. That is not a man.
But that was their excuse constantly, was we were only following orders. Orders are orders. We were only following orders. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
Your quote from Bismarck was very interesting. Yeah.
You know, 400 years ago, Germany had a very good leader. His name was Bismarck. And he said to the world, watch out what happened in Germany. If they are a good leader, this is a wonderful country. Clean, educated, polite, höflich. But if it's a bad leader, world, watch out. They're fanatics of discipline. They follow a leader blindly. They don't ask questions. And this has happened. He said it's the Jews' fault and they wanted to destroy us. They already lost the war. I can assure you, the war was finished. There were thousands and thousands of Jews still in the Black Forest walking to their death. They didn't give up, those bastards, excuse me.
So you could, don't worry. I got no problem with the word bastards when it's applied to the Germans. I would take them all out and shoot the lot of them, but that's me. But what really interests me is how you can come to terms with who they are and then not hate them, because my father too was a Holocaust survivor, and I'm obsessed with Germans, with the Holocaust, with everything. And all I want to do is take some friends, go to Germany, put some poison in the water supply, and kill a lot of them.
You see, they wanted me to hate. I don't hate.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanted me to die. I didn't die. I lost all my family. I can not bring them back, but I created a new family, a wonderful family. And I cannot hate. Resilience is to stay alive, cost what cost. I had lots of disappointments of our own people sometimes. We are not all the same. I was in a German concentration camp in 1938, and it was all German Jews. I did not lose my bread if I had to go to the toilet. Where I left it, it was there. I was only 1 month in Auschwitz, and I lost my bread. And I shouted in all the languages that whoever took my bread will not survive. I could not take your bread. They asked me, how do you survive? We all have the same food. We survive, but you don't take from your brother, from your Havarim, the bread. We steal from the German, not from me. Maybe you think I'm German, so they hate me in any case. The Germans hate me, the Jews hate me because I'm a German in a Polish environment.
You were the Yekkers.
I say to them, whoever took my bread will not survive. And I can tell you, and that's honestly, if I see somebody taking your bread, I break his wrist.
Yeah,
I give him a knock. He will not do that again.
So the first experience of the concentration camp was Buchenwald. Paint the picture of Buchenwald.
In Buchenwald, I could tell you, if I get on a Sunday, we get our soup and our bread on 11 o'clock. But suddenly I feel bad. I leave my bread and my soup. All the people around me will watch my things. Nobody will touch it. No one. I swear to you, no one. No German will take from me. They will steal from but not in Auschwitz. Auschwitz, you're a loner. You must not leave your bread. The bread will be taken from you. From your people who will suffer the same way. They couldn't care about you. There's no chavarim, no friendship.
That's understandable considering what people went through there. Survival was the most important thing for everybody. So human behavior takes a bit of a dive, if you know what I mean.
There's no such thing than taking the bread of a chaver. For me, is a motto: we live together or we die together.
Yeah.
You had your bread. This is my survival, this bread. You don't take this from me.
You survived Auschwitz because you had a skill, right? Because you had that skill of precision. Mechanical engineer, was that what it was? Mechanical engineer?
Yes, but I had to learn a lot of things. You your bread, you eat it within 2 minutes. If somebody wanted, they have to cut you open.
but you survived. You survived though in all through this because you had a skill that the Germans found useful.
You see, I want to tell you something. In Auschwitz, I had a little band, and it calls wirtschaftlich wertvoller Jude, economical indispensable Jew.
Yeah.
I was a toolmaker. I was the foreman in Bayer of 200 machines. I had a chain around my neck with a metal plate. It says, if one machine stops because the air is leaking, you hang. I can tell you this was a hard job to look after 200 people and 200 machines, that no machine stopped. When I made 200 whistles, I made from stainless steel. I needed a steel ball, but I had no steel ball. But I found in a rubbish bin pips from cherries. So they were my balls. It wasn't so loud than a steel ball, but it was loud enough for me to hear if somebody whistles. I run, close the machine, change the clock, which is faulty, and the machine starts again. If the machine stops, all 200 machines, and I hang. I can assure you I hang. So I was very hard. I worked very, very hard, but I had other advantages. I could make rings, I could make chains, I could make little medallions, and I sold this to just ordinary workers, Germans, who would bring me a shirt, a flannel shirt. They would bring me socks. Nobody else had socks. They would bring me soap. I had to hide the soap in the shower, not in my, we have no beds, no cupboard. It was a very hard life. I will, if I live 150 years, I'll never forget.
You probably will live 150 years. You haven't done too badly.
When people used to say to me, Eddie, we wish you 120, I would say, what did I do to you? Now I'm 101.
101, and you're terrific. You're nearly as smart as me, and I'm only 40. Yeah.
Yes.
So when the first time you arrived in Auschwitz, you came off the train. Your parents disappeared immediately. You know they were selected. Yeah.
My parents were killed in a gas chamber on arrival in October 1943, and Josef Mengele sent my father to the left and me to the right, and that was the end that I saw my parents. It was raining or snowing, and I helped with my father, all the people. The train is 1.5 meters above the cake where we arrive. And how can women jump? We can't jump. And so we help everything out. And when we walk, my mom is gone, my sister's gone. Mengele put them, schnell, geh. And so I didn't say goodbye to my mom. And then my father went on a truck. So I managed to go on this side where my father was, even though he told me to go on the other side. And as I was nearly at the truck, one of the stooges must have liked my face. And he said, didn't he tell you this side? And I say, warum? Why? And he said, your father goes by truck and you walk into the camp. And this man has saved my life. I wouldn't be in this truck. They all were guests.
That was a German that saved your life? There was a German?
So Mengele took out 148 people from 1,500 people. That's all the people he needed. But he made us suffer also. He locked us up for 3 days and 3 nights, naked, only our shoes we had and our belt. And there was no light in this room. And I knew from Buchenwald that somebody will say gas and somebody will say water, and they will panic. They're running around. If you want to sleep, you lie down, they tremble on you. So we were 4 German in the 148. The rest were French and Belgium and Dutch people. So I said to my friends, we must find a corner in the middle of this room, a corner. 2 people will stand there and 2 people will sleep behind. When they finish sleeping, we sleep and they stand watch. When they opened after 3 days and 3 nights, 18 people were trampled to death. They died. That was their punishment for us. Everyone goes through a punishment. I don't know for what, but that is what they decided. So they had already eliminated. Look, there was a conflict going on in Auschwitz. 11 factories built around Auschwitz, Mercedes-Benz, Bosch. I worked for Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R. They needed us. If they wouldn't give us the soup at lunchtime, that's not the Germans, not the Nazis gave that. The factories feed us. This soup, without this soup, we're all dead. The Nazis on that side want to kill us, and the others, the professionals, they need us. So what can we do? We are between. Lucky that I could organize things for my friend and me. I was able to, I say in my book that I had access to a kitchen. I had also a big pot. When you have 10 Jewish men from Germany, you have 2 doctors because they are smart. They don't need a factory like my father and my grandfather and me. We need factories to do our job. But the doctor has everything here and here, and he can go and work anywhere. Factory is with him. So we have a lot of doctors. You wouldn't believe how many doctors every day were taken to German hospitals in Germany. And they wouldn't come back 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And they get 4 potatoes every day. But you cannot eat raw potatoes. So they come to Eddie. Eddie cooks the potatoes. I charge 1 potato for 4, 3 for him, 1 for me. I have all my pockets, the 2 pockets in the trousers, the 2 pockets in the jacket, full of potatoes. It helped me even once. I bring some potatoes to my friend Kurt. He's in block 32. I'm in block 14. Takes me 15 minutes. So big is Auschwitz. 15 minutes to go there. And the Germans are real bastards. They made a little piece of steel to put on their boots, and it's got a point. And if they don't like your face, they let you pass. And as you pass, he hit you in the backside.
Yeah.
If he hit you in the middle, you start bleeding, and you bleed for quite a while. And you can't sit on your backside for 2 to 3 weeks. So when I brought potatoes to my friend, I heard somebody behind me, bum, bum, bum. And I turn around. That's when he wanted to hit me in my backside, but he hit the potatoes in my pocket. It didn't hurt me. So I had to limp away. I had to show him that I was hurt. Otherwise, he gives me another one. But he didn't know I wasn't hurt. He didn't hit me. He didn't help me because he hit the potatoes in my trousers, full of potatoes. So when I came to my friend, I said, Kurt, sorry, today is mashed potatoes.
Yeah. So very good. So you were in Auschwitz for how long? For 2 years, yeah, altogether.
If you haven't got a friend in Auschwitz, you're dead. You have no chance to survive. You must have a friend. Friendship in Auschwitz is the most important survival.
So Kurt was your friend. Kurt was your friend from before.
I had 4 friends. I had 3 other friends, but 2 committed suicide after 6 months.
Jump on the electric fence.
Yes, they were older than me.
Yeah.
And one night they went to the wire naked, and one touches with the right hand and one touches with the left hand, and they're holding hands, and their body is pulled towards the wire, and they electrocuted 36,001.
Yeah.
You know, it takes 30 seconds. You feel nothing. I have said to my friend many times, Kurt, the war will never be over. Let's go to the wire. No, he said, we're going to survive. And when he was sick and came to me, I said no. We say in French, l'union fait la force. Together we are strong. Alone we're nothing.
Yeah. So Kurt, when did Kurt pass away?
Kurt passed away 4 years, 2016, 5 years now. He contracted Parkinson's disease. And he was 10 years late in bed, couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I spoke to him every week, and he got weaker and weaker. And he had a carer 24 hours. And I spoke to the carer. He was from Philippines in Israel. He lived in Haifa.
Yeah.
In Kiryat Bialik.
Yeah.
That's north of Haifa. That's near Akko. He had 2 factories, very nice. I went every 5 years. I went every 5 years to Israel. I stayed a month. We are like brothers. Here in Monty, if you come to visit me, I show you a Hong Kong woman heard my story, and she made 2 hands because I showed them how we were walking around in Brussels, where we lived, in Belgium, that we're holding the hands like this, the 2 little fingers, and hug each other and kiss each other.
After the war?
after the war.
Yeah.
We were before the war and after the war.
Yeah.
We were friends in Belgium. We met. He's not from Leipzig, where I am from. He's from Berlin. He's from Königsberg. That doesn't exist anymore. Poland took that. Ostpreußen.
Yeah.
There used to be a corridor to go there, but that's finished.
So, Eddie, a lot of Jews who went through Auschwitz, they can't believe that God put them through that, and so they reject religion, they reject Judaism completely. I met a lot of people like that. How do you feel about God these days?
No, I believe in a superior power, but my God is not like yours. My God is the wind, the rain, the snow, the water, the earth can open and take me in, or a tsunami can kill me, the lightning can kill me. I believe very strongly, if you do in your life the right thing, you are rewarded. I am rewarded with good health. I'm going to be 101. I drive my car. I go without a stick. When I had my last time, my test, that was last year, 3 years before, I went for the test. And the man in Pontiac Junction said to me, Mr. Jaku, I can't fault you. You drive beautifully. Take a license for 5 years. So I said, 5 years? I'll be 102. So I said, 3 years will do. So now, last year was finished. The same inspector says to me, you see, you didn't have to come if you had 5 years. So now I have a license in 2024 because I passed again my test, and it was beautiful.
Well, that's fantastic, and I wish you till 200. But I'm just wondering that the whole thing about God not being in Auschwitz, God disappearing in Auschwitz, because we have a relationship with. I mean, the Jewish people have a relationship with God, and in Auschwitz they're crying out to God, and there was no answer whatsoever, was there?
No. I see two former men lying the films and get hanged with their films. Hanged.
Yeah.
No religious Jew told another Jew that he has to daven and mincha maariv and everything like this. Not at all. Listen, you want my open opinion. I don't want to upset any of you listeners.
You don't upset anything.
It's good. I believe in a superior power, but I told you that power I can see. My son Andre went to Phuket and was, when the tsunami was, he was on the beach. He saw the water coming. He ran up to the mountains. He lost everything in his hotel room. He stayed 7 days with the monks. He couldn't ring me because he had no batteries. The battery went down. He hadn't got a charger.
Yeah.
This is for me, God. If I do the right thing, I will be rewarded, and I am rewarded. I think every day when I wake up, I say, this is another day to enjoy. It's all bonus for me. I have seen so many religious people dying because they insisted they had to daven and they had to stop. They wouldn't do that on Shabbos and things like that. In Auschwitz, there is no one who can resist them. You must do what they want you to do. When they don't look, you stop. But while they look, you do. And nobody has. I was with rabbis in Auschwitz, and he said to me, Eddie, your attitude is very good. You might survive because you work with your hair. You don't believe in somebody will help you. You help yourself. God helps you if you help yourself. Well, my help was that I do everything I have to support my friends with food. And one day, I don't need money. I want friendship. I want to encourage me to continue to do. In my whole life, I am like that. If I can make miserable person smile, I'm happy. Today I spoke to 200 young girls in the museum, and you should see the applause. because I speak what is life. When I spoke 2 years ago in TEDx, 6,400 people, most of them were young ladies. And I said at my end of my speech, when you go home tonight, it doesn't matter where your mom is, in London, in Berlin, in Buenos Aires, or in Los Angeles. You go straight to the phone and you ring, Mom, I love you. My new friend Eddie told me to do so. I got so many emails of moms who said, Eddie, my daughter has never said this to me. What it cost. I miss my mom so much, you have no idea. I have not lost only my mom. My mom was my best friend. I could tell her anything. All my mischief, I tried to find a cigarette and try to smoke, like every young person. My father was very strict. I didn't know till we were going. Every time that I rang from the where I was working in Tuttlingen near Stuttgart, every 6 weeks we spoke on the phone. Me from a warehouse behind the curtain, there were phone where you put money in. So I rang my parents, and my father used to say to me, Eddie, I know it is hard, but one day you will be very grateful. I am, because that I had already survived 5 years on my own as a young man, and I knew all the bad thing about the German because I lived with them in orphanage. I knew what is good for them and what you have to do to please them and what's no good. And so I had an advantage. If I would come from home in 3 months, I'm dead. My father says to me, I know it's hard, but one day you will be very grateful. You have no idea how grateful I am that my father has put me 860 kilometers from my city. When I needed my mom the most, I didn't have. But he gave me the stamina to know what I knew already, to be frightened to speak too much. We say in French, silence is gold, speaking is silver. I'm married for 75 years because when my wife shouts, I don't answer. 2 hours later, she rings me on the phone and she apologizes. You see, it's not always. When you marry, this is a compromise. My wife is Greek, Sephardi, and I'm German. She is hot-blooded.
Ashkenazi, yeah.
So, and we have the wonderful, and we have, because we don't argue, because I don't argue. There's no right. Nobody wins in arguing. It doesn't matter. I respect your opinion, what you believe is good and good for the people. And I believe I will not convince you, you won't convince me, but together we be unified because we are humans. I try to make this world a better place for everyone. But you can't do that by yourself. So I speak to thousands of people, thousands. I can tell 100,000. Every week I go to the museum when this Hazarei, I call this Hazarei, this virus is finished and we can go out. I spoke 2 years ago to 1,000 Catholic teachers. Today they told me in the museum, I was this morning in the museum, that those 1,000 teachers want to hear you again. They saw your book.
Well, I read your book and I bought a copy for each of my daughters who are in their 20s because the way you talk in that book, it's very accessible to that age group, and it's very important. My children have been brought up very Jewish, but they understand very little about the Holocaust and about how something like that can happen, how a whole country can turn on a minority like the Jewish people and want to kill every one of them. That's an incredible story. But you describe it in very accessible terms.
It's very nice, very nice. Thank you. I tell you, this publisher, Macmillan, she came here 6 or 7 times to convince me that we need a book, because she heard me in TEDx, she heard me in the museum, she heard me in the schools, and she said, you will write a book which is accessible, which shows that family blood is thicker than water. Why should you look? I have a friend who died, and he has two children, two daughters. They have already spent more than 2 million in court because they're not happy to divide it in half. Why? I said, if your father can come out of the Rockwood cemetery, he buys himself a gun, shoot you both, and said, you're not my daughters. And that's the truth, you know.
I agree with you. I agree.
This is a shame. A shame that two girls can fight for a few $1 million and spend the money because one wants 70%, the other 30%, because she looked after him. This is, one day a man came to me and says, I have 6 units in Darling Point. Beautiful units, old units, but very nice. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, must have been just built, very luxury. And I said to him, Sam, you have 3 children. That's why I want to sell it, he said. Because if I sell it, I give them each their money and no choice, no arguments. But if I don't sell it, one wants the money, the other wants to keep it, and there's fight. And he was right. He was right. If I can do the same, I say everything is split half. What do you want? You have done a bit more for your father. That's why you want the other one to have less. Give me sugar.
Completely with sugar.
That is the truth. And so I wrote the book. And the book now, it came out on the 28th of July last year. For 3 months, I was bestseller. Then came Obama. He took number 1. I went number 2. Then came another one. He took number 2. I came number 3. But for the whole time, I'll never be out of the first best 10. Yesterday, I'm back again, number 1.
Number 1. You're number 1 in Australia. Yeah. No, but you deserve to be, because you've got a message in there which is very important for everybody to look at. Number 1, that people can just turn on a dime and from one day to the next. It's very interesting. Can turn from one day to the next from decent people into murderers is an incredible story. Number 2, your attitude, which is just go forward, don't look back, keep working hard and utilizing everything at your fingertips to survive. And thirdly, that you don't hate anybody. You don't hate the Germans. I can't stand them. But in fact, when I do my shows, I perform all around the country. When I have Germans in my show, backpacker Germans, I encourage the audience to set them on fire. But that's just me. Anyway, so...
you're right. I agree with you. But I want, whatever they want me to do, I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't buy a Mercedes, a BMW, VW. I don't.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't hate when people come to see me and speak to me and they're German. But let me tell you, every time that I meet a German and they like me, I said, you go back home and you find out what your father and grandfather has done. So about 5 years ago, I had a doctor at the University of Sydney. They invited me to speak to 140 scientists from all over the world. And she couldn't speak English. When I spoke, she had a machine which she has it straight away translated into German. Then somebody said to me, she can't speak English. Can you take her home? She lived in Kuchibai Hotel. I take her home. And she was a descendant of the Kaiser. Her name is Von, V-O-N, between Gertrude von Sachsenhausen. See, Sachsenhausen. She is from there. She's a descendant of the Kaiser. So I said to her, Gertrude, you invite me to your castle in Hamburg. I cannot come for personal reason. But you can do something for me. If you go back, you find out what your father done and your grandfather from 1938 to 1945. I tell you, the father lives in a castle in Hanover. He had his 90th birthday. She went to this birthday party, 75 people, the waiters with white gloves, beautiful place. And she waited till the main meal is served. She was sitting here, her grandfather on the other side. And she said, she got up and said, Opa, that's grandfather, what did you do from 38 to 35? He got all white like a sheet. He got up, he was a big man. He took the tablecloth, pulled it with all the dishes on the floor. He took out a little revolver from his pocket and said, Gertrude, if you ask me again, I shoot you. She ran out. She apologized in a four pages letter, and she said, I was wrong. You were right. You don't want to come here. I understand. And the last page was a bit wet. It was her tears.
Tears, yeah.
Not so much that the last page was all pushed like that. You see, this is important. The Germans should learn you cannot take a life. It doesn't matter for what. Criminals go to court for one death.
One person.
They have mass murder. They never been in jail. They never have changed. They still sing Deutschland über alles. If you're United Europe, you're not über alles anymore.
You know, I can't even handle that. I can't even sleep thinking like that. It's unforgivable. Forever, ever, ever.
Correct. Correct.
It's been lovely talking to you. I really appreciate it. And I wish you bis 200. Bis 200. And a good luck with your book, which is terrific. Okay. And good luck with everything.
Okay.
It's lovely to talk to you. I wish you only the best.
All the best.
All the best to you. All the best to you.
Bye.
See you, Eddie. Bye, Eddie. Bye.